It's a Cammie. I'm a 35 years old, a mom divorced, and still trying to rebuild a life that never seems to slow down. I'm a very social, some people say maybe too social, and I'd like to have the feeling of being a wanty. I've made choices that were complicated, choices I don't always talk about. I want a connection, but I get scared when it gets too close. I want an excitement, but I also want a stability, and I haven't figured out how to hold both at the same time.
Hi, I'm Will. I'm 36 years old, and I'm the kind of guy who doesn't pretend. I meet someone who sparks something in me, I show up. I'm honest and consistent. I want someone who knows what they want and isn't afraid to say it. I do fall in love rather fast, I've been told. I fall, sometimes with the intentions that I think about that they're with me as well. And all I ask is that someone meets me halfway.
When I met the world, it was just a hello. We just met in the club, and I smiled, and he exchanged a phone number. I didn't think it would turn into anything, to be truthful, but something about him, it's a bit different. He saw the past and in me. I told him a few things, and some of the parts I see in him, I seen in me, I thought. But that's how I met the world.
When I met Cammie, I couldn't forget her. 2 months passed and she was still in my head. There was something about her energy. It was bright. It was unpredictable. She was magnetic. I mean, if you met her, I knew she could change my life, and I just didn't know how she was going to change it, but I knew there was something there.
When the dating began, it became a little bit, how do you say it, complicated. I didn't expect these things to happen like this, but with me, sometimes you never know.
As in the short time I got to know Cammie, at first it felt right. I didn't expect things to fall apart. But with her, all of a sudden, surprisingly, somehow it did.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Greg Stewart Show. Today, we're going to get into what the intro I just introduced you to Camelia or Cammie and Will or William. And before we do that, if you can please subscribe, like, share, and comment, it goes a long way for this podcast. But in the meantime, we're going to break down. We're going to find out why we do what we do, meeting Cam and Will. Did they make it? Did they not? You're going to see things pop up in reference to asking you questions that I put together, but not only asking you questions, but also making you an analyst as well of, is this a syndrome? Is this a disorder? What is this? And why do we do what we do to get the attention or the validation that we need in our growth of our relationship? Is one person insecure? Is one person a user, gold digger, whatever you want to call it there? We're going to put it all together and see from your perspective as well as my own how this measures up to you and your value, standards, and beliefs, and what you feel their values and standards and beliefs are in reference to this person. Please comment, because it goes a long way in reference to that, because we all see the world differently. And now, without further ado, the story of Camilla, also known as Cammie, William, also known as Will, right now. Tonight's story starts with a man who thought he met the woman he'd been waiting for, and ends with a truth he never saw coming. A truth about timing, desire, insecurity, and the moment one wrong sentence can change everything. This is the story of Will and Cammie, and how a spark turned into a wildfire, then into smoke, all in under 3 dates. Will met Cammie in a club. A quick hello, a number exchanged, a moment that felt like the start of something. But before he can approach her again, another guy swoops in. Cammie, he ends up leaving with that guy. And Right there, the universe gives Will his first warning sign, but he doesn't see it yet. 2 months later, Will walks back into that same club. There she is, like the moment froze and waited for him. He approaches. She remembers him. They talk. They set a date. This is where the story stops being simple. On the first date, Cammie drops her life on the table. I've already been married and divorced. I have a beautiful daughter, so I guess you could say I'm a single mom. I'm from Italy. My ex-husband still lives there, but now I'm living here. I am married, though. I'm married to a guy, but just for the green card. Now, he visits once a month to keep up appearances, and so I'll see him for a little bit, and then he'll go back to California, which is where he lives. That's a 5-state difference, by the way, where Cammie lives. Now listen, that's not a red flag. That's a red billboard. But Will, he's already invested. He's already imagining a future, already ignoring the chaos. On the second date, they became closer. They felt a really good connection. Will thought this feels like love. They were very close to intimacy. Everything as close as you can, but without the sex. Will said to himself, I think this is going to be even closer. I think the third date will be amazing. So he reaches out to Cammie. Cammie agrees, let's have another date. And so, same energy, same beautiful time, but it's getting hot and heavy, and Cammie says, make love to me. Will wants to. He showed all the intimate energy that he did in the second date, but for some reason his energy was lower than he expected. He wasn't in the right state, at least he thought. It's like, oh wow, I can't believe this is happening. This never happens to me. So they end up going to sleep. Cammie looked a little bit disappointed. He tried to hold her and hug her, but she says, I don't really like being held when I'm sleeping, so let's just get some rest. Come the morning, Cammie couldn't wait for the sun to come up. She left at dawn. Will said, is everything all right? He sensed a bit of an attitude with Cammie, and she said, why wouldn't it be? Cammie walked out the door. This is where the psychology kicks in, because for Cammie, intimacy wasn't connection. It was validation. And when Will didn't validate her, she felt rejected. And with rejection comes obsession, which is the case here. So a couple days go by. Will's been calling. Will's been texting. There's been no answer. No response at all. More and more calls, more and more texts. 5 days go by. Will is puzzled. It couldn't have been the intimacy. She wouldn't be like that. We're grown adults. Why would she respond like this? It was one bad night. Finally, Cammie picks up the phone. I don't think we're right for each other, Will. What do you mean? We have chemistry. We connected. Well, on top of that, within the last few days, funny thing, my ex reached out. We're going to give it another try, Will. This did not set well with Will. Will pushes back. I'm confused. I thought you really liked me. You almost slept with me that night. I deserve another chance. Will, you're a nice guy. And truth be told, I still have feelings for my ex. And I just don't think we're right for each other. But there's someone out there for you, Will. I know it. Perhaps we could be friends. Will says, I don't know if we could be friends. I mean, we came so close. If you could just give me another chance, I think you would see I can be everything for you. Please don't do this to me. I have strong feelings for you. Will, I'm sorry, but I still love my ex, and I'm going back with him. I'm sorry. And it looks like at this point I was going to suggest friendship, but I don't know if you're capable of that with just the way you're pressuring me. Well, I could be your friend, but couldn't we still try again? Said Will. And Cammie just shut down and said, I'm sorry. And she ends up hanging up on him. She hangs up on Will, and then the first thing she did was take herself away from him on social media sites. He couldn't get through to her, so he started calling and texting. Could at least we keep up with each other and reconnect that way? He ended up blocking him. So what's the truth? What's going on? Cammie was wrong for the inconsistency, for the emotional whiplash, for using intimacy as a measuring stick. Will was wrong for not respecting boundaries once they were cleared. This wasn't the way stories of love start or end. But here are two people with different emotional wounds, trying to use each other as bandages. If you ever been Will, remember, when someone pulls away, chasing them doesn't bring them back. It just shows them you're afraid to lose something that was never stable. And call this insecurities that probably go a lot deeper than just the hookup or connection that date was bringing to Will that evening. And if you ever been Cammie, ask yourself why chaos feels safer than consistency. How she uses her intimacy to connect, to establish a relationship, and when it doesn't go the way she sees fit, well then, the party's over. And this is that story of Will and Cammie. Attraction was easy, alignment was rare. This is that reminder. Remember, Will met Cammie 2 months ago. It was just a quick hello. She ended up leaving with another guy. And that puzzled Will. And just by coincidence, 2 months later, he sees her again, and then they go out on a date. She drops a bomb right there. I'm divorced. I'm a single mom. Not that these things are a bad thing, but immediately to stay around here, because both my husband and myself are from Italy. She went and found someone, probably the same way she met Will. And then she marries him. You think this guy, she claimed, by the way, which wasn't mentioned earlier, that their arrangement was nothing to do with sex. How many of us believe that this guy is going to marry Cammie and not expect anything because he's such a wonderful person? And then he visits once a month, supposedly to keep up appearances. But she's seen that she has someone in Will that's willing to accept this, that she can use her charms and connection and use intimacy as a weapon. That's exactly what she did on the second and third date. She got as close and hot and heavy as you can and then pushed away so he could want more. And he did. And then on the third date, she asked for sex. Will didn't expect it. He said it was in the wee hours of the evening, and then all of a sudden she threw it. Was this real? Did she really want sex? Or was she doing this knowing that Will was tired? And then she walks out, and the next day she ghosts him. Then she calls back to say that she's getting back with her ex people. Is there an ex, or did she just really feel that there really was no intimate connection? Or is there an ex? This is the big question for you. And then again, Will solidifies his insecurity by begging for another chance. Now, did this scare Cammie? Did she get to the point that maybe this guy, I'm going too far? What is he capable of? I have a daughter to think about. So she blocks him. So who was wrong, people? Both were wrong, but for different reasons. What are those reasons? Well, 6 human needs come into mind. Security comes into mind. She doesn't probably want to stay with that one person forever just to keep the green card, just to keep up appearances. Think about that. So maybe here's a guy that will take care of her. Maybe I can fall in love. Maybe this can do it. But then she got scared because she does have a lot at stake. She has to take care of her 10-year-old daughter. She has to focus on who she brings in to both their life. And as for Will, he's a pretty secure guy, he says, for the most part. He just doesn't do well in relationships. When I spoke with him, I said to him, has this ever happened to you before? And he said, every relationship. I seem to fall in love instantly. I fall in love instantly, and I can't fall out of it until something like this happens. And that's the key thing. He's a romantic idealer. He idolizes things, projects on those things. He sees potential before he sees reality. He attaches meaning to the smallest of moments. His anxious attachment tendencies, when he feels connected, he clings, he panics, and he over pursues. He avoids confrontation until he feels rejected. Then he becomes persistent, emotional, and reactive. He needs constant reassurance. This brings him clarity, particularly if it's consistent. He's an over-investor. And this is who Will is. I didn't realize when he met Cammie what he was dealing with there. Our little social butterfly gets stimulated by high society. She thrives on the attention, uses her charms, uses emotional intensity by going to places like clubs, picking up new faces, flirting. These environments regulate those moods. She wants closeness. She does have an anxious attachment blend. She doesn't get her way on things on her terms. When someone gets too emotionally invested, she pulls away because she has to keep control. And when someone pulls away from her, she panics and seeks validation elsewhere. We call this identity instability. Her divorce, immigration, marriage, and ongoing ties to multiple men suggest she hasn't built a stable internal identity. She uses relationships to anchor herself. She validates herself by driving intimacy into the relationship immediately. Sex isn't just physical for her, it's proof she's wanted. When Will said he was tired, she didn't hear "I'm tired," she heard "You're not desirable." This is her own mental state. So she uses conflict to avoid Will and uses this to escaping Will. Instead of communicating her discomfort, she ghosts. Instead of resolving tension, she switches partners. Instead of facing emotional consequences, she blocks. Behavioral patterns. These impulsive decisions, leaving with another man the night she met Will, reconnecting with her ex instantly after feeling rejected, abruptly cutting off communication. Then she puts things in compartments. She separates her daughter, her ex-husband, her immigration marriage, and her dating life. They're all in their own perfect little box. But those boxes have leaks, don't they? Because of fear of emotional exposure, she reveals chaotic details early as a test for the person. If someone stays, she assumes they'll tolerate even more chaos. She's good at it. Because her emotional drivers are fear of abandonment, fear of judgment, and the need for control. And this is that story. This is who Cammie is, and this is who Will is. Two peas in a pod, but their own kind of peas. They both have their way, and if you were to break them down, Cammie to Will avoids emotional responsibility. Cammie seeks emotional clarity. Will uses intimacy for validation. Cammie interprets intimacy as commitment. Will flees when insecure. Cammie pursues when insecure. Will lives in chaos. Cammie seeks stability. Will test boundaries. Cammie doesn't enforce boundaries. Will This is a classic anxious and avoidant collision. So this is where we stand, folks. This is their story. If you know anyone that has a story similar or something that you'd like to help them out, or even yourself, please email gregcoaching@gmail.com right below. Or you could leave a comment saying, I would like help, please DM me. Whatever you need, reach out. Let's make a story of it. Let people know, not necessarily of you. We'll change the names just to help others. That's why we do this. This is the Greg Stewart Show. Thanks for listening, and please, once again, subscribe, like, share, and comment. I hope you have a great day or evening wherever you are.